Hello, good morning and welcome to the next episode of Creative with Style. I'm really excited to have on with us today Royal Air Force Officer Paul Griffin. So he's going to be able to tell you all about life in the Royal Air Force, in military, and what sort of things you can be thinking of studying when you can continue, if this is a career path that interests you. Good morning, Paul.
Good morning.
How are you?
I'm very good, thank you.
Excellent. So can you just talk to us a little bit about how you got into the Royal Air Force, how that path worked for you?
Yeah, sure, absolutely. So I basically when I left school, so post compulsory leaving age, I didn't really know what I wanted to do. From a young age, been interested in the military. My grandfather and grandmother had both served, so I'd had an interest, but I was a bit didn't really know what I wanted to do. And then a very good friend of mine was studying a local course at college, and decided to kind of tag along with him. It was a 2-year national diploma. And when I was there, I remember the course director who was there. I owe a lot to him. He basically gave me the motivation I needed, really.
What was the course called? What was the course that you did?
It was a national diploma in public service studies.
Okay.
Yeah, so he basically asked me. I mean, the guy was an ex-Royal Marine, so he was pretty straight down the line, and he sort of said to me, what do you want to do with your life? And I was like, well, I'm kind of thinking about joining the military. And he's like, well, do you want to join the military? I was like, yeah, probably. And he was like, right. And he kind of really helped me, and he kind of gave me a path and just said, look, if you want to do this, you need to commit to it. So from completing the course and with his help and guidance, I then went on to university. And I mean, I finished the course in about 2002, and I think that's when my journey to the military really started. So I finished that course. I went to university, finished university. So I studied physical education.
Okay.
So there was kind of the two things I was attracted to was the military and being a PE teacher. So I went and did PE, because as far as the military is concerned, unless you're going to like one of the engineering professions, a degree is a degree, really. So you can do it in zoology if you want to. It helps with your application. So yeah, I did my degree and then took it from there, really.
So when you go into the military, if you study sort of at college and then do a degree, you go in at officer level, is that right?
It's up to you, really. There are plenty of non-officers. I mean, there was a lad I went through part of my course with. He was the same age as me, and he was joining as he joined as a non-commissioned rank, an airman, and he had a degree in physics.
Okay.
But so he had the option open to him to go, I mean, engineer, anything like that, but he didn't want to. That's not what he wanted out of the service. So, yeah, if it certainly helps, because if you want to join as an officer, you need to kind of demonstrate. You need to demonstrate, because you're almost skipping a few levels. You need to have kind of proof of maturity and world experience. If that kind of helps, and a degree certainly helps with that.
Super. And so you went in then as an officer, and then how has it progressed? What's happened since then?
Wow. Yeah, so I started at initial officer training at Cranwell in 2007, and it will be next year. It'll be 14 years since I joined up. Literally, it feels like it's been 2 lifetimes, mate. Absolutely, in a good way. Just the things I've done, the places I've been to, the people I've met. It's just, I think everybody who's done a little bit of time in the military could probably, not that I'm intentionally doing so, by the way, that could probably write their own book, just because of the things the military enables you to do, and asks of you, and then gives back. But
so what's been the highlights? What would you say was like the best part?
Oh God, it was interesting because while I was doing some work yesterday, my screensaver was, because whenever you go in the military, as long as it's authorised, of course, take lots of photos. So when you've got the screenshots up on your computer, like I think it's just it's the memories, it's the places you get to go. You know, some of the locations you can. Yeah, I mean, one year you can be in somewhere, you could be somewhere very cold. Um, and see like beautiful South Atlantic vistas, and then the next moment, you know, you can be in the desert in like a complete opposite. And also like the other forces you get to work with as well, like you get to go and work with, you know, plenty of the other NATO allies like the Americans and stuff like that, and you just meet great people.
Okay, cool. So I guess it's quite hard because one of the questions that we have from our students is, what does a typical day look like? I mean, at the moment you're working from home, so what kind of things are you doing?
Yeah. So it kind of depends what job you're doing. You tend to, depending on what you join as, what your specialisation is, because at heart, if you join the RAF, we're all airmen. In the army, you're all soldiers. Navy, you're all sailors at heart. So you have that kind of core speciality, that, you know, that core role. But then you have a further speciality as it is, which is like a specific trade or branch that you join in, and a lot of that you absolutely have plenty of choice in this, by the way, although obviously the careers office will have, there are service requirements. Service requirements always have to come first in terms of the job you do, but you do have say and preferences. But on average, as an officer, you can probably expect to change job every 2 to 3 years, maybe shorter if there is that service requirement, and it pretty much is the same for the other ranks. However, with the new kind of the employment model we use, there is opportunity if you want to stay around for a bit longer. Like for example, my tour before last, I actually stayed in the post for up to 6 years. That was simply because it worked for me with the kids coming along. So it kind of worked for me to be at home to help with that, and it met the service requirement. But yeah, so you tend to change jobs every couple of years, and that's part of the appeal, really. And you go for you work at locations all over the country or internationally. And then the job, as I say, it depends on the specialisation. You know, I've done jobs where there's operational work involved, so you're supporting efforts internationally and locally, working in kind of secure locations, working with aircraft specifically, talking to these guys, directing these guys, command and control. Another job I've done, worked as an instructor, so I've worked as a teacher, so teaching that role to new recruits that finished basic training. At the moment, I'm in a slightly higher role, so the kind of position that's kind of a little bit higher up that chain, so a little bit more in terms of overseas operationals and strategy and stuff like that. But as I say, it can change every couple of years, and as long as you're qualified, if you're not qualified, they'll train you to do what you need to do. But yeah, it's just so varied, mate. It really is.
Okay, so obviously the people who are interested in a career with the Air Force, they want to know about the aircraft, as you've just mentioned. So what to you, like, can you think of one standout, exciting moment?
Oh God, I can think of a few. So one particular exciting moment, I think. Yeah, okay. So a really like rewarding one for me that I remember is, so this is probably from my kind of latest overseas, or my last overseas, I think, was working in Eastern Europe, with like some of the nations and the guys out there, and basically just being able to get, I mean, this is one of the great things about the military, is you go to these other countries and you get out and about with the locals, and doing that kind of support mission, to sell Great Britain and sell what we do, and sell that the military and the RAF is a force for good, and just getting out and about amongst those people. And one of my favourite memories was, as I say, when we were out in Eastern Europe, and we got this is fairly non-standard, by the way, but the base commander who we were working with, so he basically invited us out to his. He basically said, "Oh, you know, I have a small place out by the coast area. If you and a couple of your guys want to come and stay." And basically, what followed was us turning up at what can only equate to be an absolute palace.
Wow.
As we stayed at the station commander's house. But what was kind of really cool about it as well was just how welcoming like the host nations are, and it's just that unique feeling of, you know, giving something extra and just kind of being appreciated as a force for the good.
Yeah, and I think that's really important because well, I try to talk to the kids a lot about the values and what's important to you, and if something that you feel is helping people and doing good, then being in a position like this, you're actually out there and you are making a difference to people's lives, aren't you, every day? So it's definitely something that if that's what fulfills you, you're always going to get that kind of job satisfaction from the military. One question that I'm asking everybody is, because obviously we all go through life and things happen and they knock us back, and we might go for a job and we don't get that job, but actually something better is waiting for us. Have you received any kind of knockbacks, and how did you overcome those?
I think I wouldn't necessarily say a knockback. I mean, there are knockbacks in the military, you know, in terms of maybe you are trying to push for promotion, or you want to take a course, and then, you know, as with a lot of other jobs, things might not work out. But, you know, it's a test of character and your ability to pick yourself back up again and push on with it. And there's been plenty of those. I think just to outside of the military, I think just to go back to what I was saying earlier, really, you know, I kind of felt that I kind of went into high school with this dream, and I mean, not to say that the school I went to was, I can't really blame the school, but I certainly felt that I wasn't encouraged and I wasn't supported with my dream, really. And as I say, when I came out of school, I was a little bit disenfranchised. Yeah. About what I wanted to do. But as I say, fortunately, I met someone who, and I think that's all it takes sometimes, isn't it? It's just one person to see the potential in you and just give you that encouragement.
Yeah, and believing in yourself is really important as well, because quite often the kids come to the careers office and they're saying to me, "Oh, I don't know, maybe I'm not good enough. There's going to be loads of people going for that job," and it's kind of like, well, look, you're good. You go for it. You've got something to give just as much as everybody else. So just to wrap up then, what kind of advice would you give to somebody who's interested in a career in the RAF or even in the military in general?
Just go to the find your local, and you can Google this, but just find your local Armed Forces careers office. You know, the teams that work there really specialise and really good. I think I went on as a favour to a friend. I visited an air cadet unit a couple of years ago. I remember one of the cadets speaking to me then and saying, "Look, I'm thinking about being an officer. I don't know if I can do it." And I said, "Look, go and speak to the AFCO. Go and see, because the RAF will tell you whether you are good enough at this point in your life for you to have a career in the military and get the most out of it. Because sometimes you may get a knock back and they may say, you know, come back in 6 months or come back in a year, maybe for that maturity aspect. But the teams there are specialised and they're experts at assessing whether you are ready. So not only what's good for the service, but what's good for you about whether you're ready. And go and speak to them, and they will guide you through it, and they will give you all the advice and the help you need. But if you think it's something you're interested in, then just go and do it, because they will tell you whether.
And obviously the guys who are in the cadets, they've all built up some of these skills. The scouts, the cadets, these kind of organisations, they're building up skills, aren't they, all the time? So if it's something that they've been enjoying, it's an ideal career to step into.
Yeah, absolutely. I was a cadet myself for about 5 years, and all those skills are really, really useful. I mean, when I went to university, the next level up, you have the University Air Squadrons and the Officer Training Corps for the Army, which are like the equivalent of the cadetships at that level. And I actually joined the Army one because the RAF, I use the excuse that it would look good for the AFCO that I've gone out and I'd explored other things, whereas the actual reason was the Army one was about 500 meters away from my university house, whereas like 2 hour drive. So. Yeah, and all those skills are super useful. They really are. And if you are in the cadets, you have, and yeah, I mean, if you cadets, it's not essential. It's really not. And I think most people that were on my initial training course had not been in the cadets. But then what you tended to find was when they put you into your 2-man rooms, you'd have someone that had zero experience in the military would then end up getting put in someone who'd been like a cadet, so that it balance out that way. But yeah, certainly those organisations are a great way to get more information about it.
Excellent. Right, well, that's brilliant. Thank you so much for your time this morning. I think it's really been helpful. Obviously, if any of the kids do have any other questions, I'll just drop you an email and they can hopefully be able to answer them for them. But mainly, I think the main thing is that they need to get to the I don't think they can visit the office at the moment, but maybe get in touch with the recruitment offices. Great.
Yeah, and if you just Google RAF careers.
Yeah, there's the really fantastic information on all the websites as well. I've had a look at those as well. Great, well, thank you very much for your time. I'll send you a copy of the video.
Yep, sounds great. Thank you very much.
Thank you, bye.